been fascinated by the depot at Lamy, New Mexico for several years, so when I was looking for another HO scale project to build, I decided it was time to tackle this gem of a station that serves Galisteo, Santa Fe, and the village of Lamy. The one-story Lamy Depot was built for the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway, commonly known as the Santa Fe, and opened to passengers in 1909. It replaced a two-story wooden frame structure erected in 1881. When the new passenger station was opened, the original was converted into a freight depot and served this purpose into the 1940s. In addition to a passenger waiting area, the historic depot today houses an eatery and tap room popular with travelers and locals alike. The Santa Fe originally planned to run from Atchison, Kansas to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then west to California. As the track building advanced into New Mexico, the civil engineers realized that the terrain around Santa Fe made this an impossible undertaking. The line was built through Lamy instead, and a spur line was built northward to Santa Fe. Amtrak passengers headed to the state capital still alight at Lamy, where a shuttle transports them the remaining 18 miles. The depot is owned by the Santa Fe Southern Railway, as is the spur line to Santa Fe. The Spanish Mission style, featuring shady arcades, red tile roofs, and stucco-clad walls, drew on the region's Spanish colonial past to provide the railroad with a cohesive visual identity. It also became an effective marketing tool to lure residents and tourists from the East and Midwest. Constructed of brick covered in stucco, the Lamy Depot features a waiting room outfitted with carved wooden beams, handsome wood benches in the Spanish Revival style, and colorful decorative tiles. Common to many depots in the region, it has a covered outdoor waiting room on the north end. An original tower over the ticket office was later removed, while a small freight room was added to the building's west end in 1941. Its function is evident by the placement of small windows high on the wall that admit light but deter thieves, as well as large wooden doors that allow station personnel to roll in carts stacked with boxes and crates. My first task was to measure the building. I sketched out the structure and measured the walls, windows, and offsets. I used Google Maps to establish the relationship of the building to the tracks and the old Atlantic Coast Line dining car on the property. There are many other interesting structures on the property, but I didn't want to make the diorama too large. After measuring the building, the next thing to do was draw it to HO scale size. This would make building the walls easier instead of trying to convert actual building measurements to HO scale. It was an extra step that saved time and also generated some nice-looking drawings of the building itself. After seeing a video by model maker Luke Towan, I decided to invest in a 3D printer. After a week of frustration and several gray blobs, I learned how to program the printer for the type of resin that I was using. I also had to teach myself how to do computer-aided design to make each wall segment and then import the design into the proper file for the printer to use. The building is made up of about 23 separate 3D components that were glued together. The bathrooms are one unit and each contain a toilet and sink in HO scale. Check out the separate video I made of designing and printing a wall section. The windows and doors of the depot are a challenge because the frames are white, trimmed in blue. I first sprayed the section white, masked off the window frame, and sprayed midnight blue for the trim. The doors were painted brown. The doors and windows were individually masked off again with balsa wood and cut to size. This would protect them when the exterior color was applied. The interior of the building is white, with brick on the south freight area and brick trim elsewhere. I finished the interiors before gluing the sections together. After gluing the individual pieces together, I masked off the interior and sprayed on a texture spray to the exterior walls to give the effect of the rough plaster that was on the outside walls of the depot. This ended up looking as close to perfect as I could hope. I spent a lot of time trying to find the perfect base color to match the stucco, but I ended up with a darker color. Several coats of different colors of light brown flesh color were airbrushed on until I achieved a weathered appearance. I completed this with some weathering pastels and then sprayed everything with a flat matte finish. The ceilings are 1/16 inch balsa cut to size. Each room is lighted with an LED that is placed in a 3D printed fixture. After wiring the lights, I ran a main wire down the utility closet that has no exterior windows. The pitched part of the roof is also 1/16 inch balsa cut to size. Finally, the Spanish tile roof was added. The floors are balsa or basswood. The appearance of tile was done by finding a suitable photograph that matches the existing tile in the building and scaling it down to size, and then printing it on photographic paper. Benches were 3D printed for the waiting room and glued in place before the floor was glued to the building. The freight doors are scale lumber. These doors have changed appearance many times over the years, but I selected white without windows to achieve a more rustic appearance. The last thing that was done to the building was to create the soffits under the roof. These were done with scale lumber, each piece cut and glued into place. This was really tedious and took a couple of days, but I really liked the effect. The roof was weathered with pastels and sealed with matte finish. The diorama is 30 inches by 15 inches, which gives enough room for the building, the Talladega, the track on the west end where the Santa Fe Southern cars are, and Main 1. There are 2 mainline tracks at the depot in addition to 2 siding tracks, but I only included Main 1. A section of track was laid for the Talladega. The area to the east of the dining car used to be trees which were cut down at some point. The Talladega was placed on the property in 2004 and operated as a restaurant and then a museum before becoming an eyesore that it is today. The area east of the Talladega has been spruced up with picnic tables and large awnings and now serves as an outdoor seating for the Chili Lime Brewery taproom. It looks nice, and I added my own touch with turquoise tables and chairs, as if the dining car were still operating as a restaurant. Access to the dining car for patrons was at the south end of the car, and that platform still exists. I built my replica out of scale lumber and 3D printed railings. The concrete bench on the north open area was also 3D printed. The depot is surrounded by a brick platform. It appears that many different colors were used, perhaps buying whatever was cheapest at the time. It's impossible to duplicate that pattern, but with a little weathering pastels I achieved a general effect. All that was left to do at this point was finish the landscaping, which I did by ballasting Main 1 and putting dirt along the Santa Fe Southern track. Grass, weeds, and a couple of trees completed the landscaping. Please enjoy this short montage of the completed project, and like the video and please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.